Ever stop to think about, what makes sure the doctor you see or the engineer who designed that bridge is actually, well, good at their job
Hmm.
and trustworthy and meeting like a global standard? It's
Yeah.
a huge undertaking, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely vital for, well, for any country, really. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a really foundational piece of law from the Philippines. It's Republic Act number 8981. You might know it as the PRC Modernization Act of 2000. And this isn't just some dusty old statute. It's basically the operating system for professional regulation there. The whole idea was to build up this pool of world-class professionals.
Exactly. And our mission today is to really unpack this act, not just read the sections, but understand why they matter. Why these rules are so important for the professionals, for you as a consumer, and for the country's development as a whole. We'll look at what they intended, how it's structured, the implications, all of it. And we're using the actual text of RA 8981, approved back on December 5th, 2000.
Okay, so every big law usually tries to fix something or aims for a specific goal. What was the story here? What problem was the PRC Modernization Act trying to solve, and what was the big picture?
Well, the key word is right there in the title. Modernizing. The full title is an act modernizing the Professional Regulation Commission, repealing for the purpose Presidential Decree numbered 223. So it completely replaced the old system, PD 223, which dated back to 1973.
Wow, nearly 30 years. The world must have changed quite a bit in that time.
Absolutely. Technology, global standards, the economy,
hmm
everything. The old framework just wasn't cutting it anymore. It needed a serious overhaul.
And Section 2, the Statement of Policy, kind of lays out the ambition, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
talks about the state recognizing how crucial professionals are for nation building. And it emphasizes a sustained development of a reservoir of professionals whose competence has been determined by honest and credible licensure examinations.
Right. Competence determined honestly and credibly. That's key.
And ensuring standards of professional service and practice are internationally recognized and considered world-class. That's a pretty high bar they set for themselves.
It is. And what's really interesting is that double focus. It's not just, are you competent, but how do we know you're competent? And is that process trustworthy? And then bang, this commitment to international recognition. They were just thinking locally. They were aiming for global competitiveness, making sure Filipino professionals could stand shoulder to shoulder with anyone, anywhere.
Okay, so to hit those big goals, the Act sets up a new Professional Regulation Commission, the PRC. What did this new commission actually look like? What was the structure?
Section 3 lays it out. It creates a three-man commission. That's a term they use, the Professional Regulation Commission. And significantly, it's attached to the office of the president.
Attached directly to the president's office.
Yeah, for general direction and coordination.
Yeah.
That tells you right away how important this body was considered in the government structure. It's got a direct line to the top.
And Section 4 goes into the details. 1 full-time chair, 2 full-time commissioners, appointed by the president. But here's something interesting. A 7-year term, and without a reappointment. How does that non-renewable term affect things? Does it guarantee independence or maybe impact continuity?
It's primarily designed for independence. The idea is to shield the commissioners from, political pressures or worrying about pleasing someone to get reappointed. They can focus on the long-term health of the professions. 7 years is a good chunk of time to implement policies, but no reappointment means they're not building personal empires there.
What about who could be appointed? Any specific qualifications?
Oh yes, quite specific. You had to be at least 40. Hold a valid professional license yourself. Be familiar with the whole world of professional regulation and have at least 5 years of executive or management experience. And here's a really practical bit. One of the 2 commissioners had to be a former chairperson or member of one of the professional regulatory boards.
Ah, so ensuring someone on the commission had real hands-on experience from the board level?
Exactly. Not just policy theory, but practical, ground-level knowledge of how these professions actually operate and are regulated.
Okay, so Section 5 says they sit and act as a body for administration, policymaking, the whole deal. And their core mission...
The core mission is crystal clear. Establish and maintain a high standard of admission to the practice of all professions. And, just as importantly, at all times, ensure and safeguard the integrity of all licensure examinations.
That integrity piece seems crucial.
It's paramount. And the chairperson isn't just like a board chair. They're the presiding officer and the chief executive officer. They're the one actually running the show day to day, implementing what the commission decides.
And Section 6 talks about pay. How did they position these roles?
They positioned them high up. The chairperson gets paid the same as a department secretary. The commissioners get paid like undersecretaries. That signals executive-level importance, matching the weight of their responsibilities.
All right, let's really dig into Section 7. You said it's extensive, and it looks like the real engine room of the Commission's authority. Where do we even start?
It's a beast, yeah. Maybe start with subsection A. It's about policy enforcement. The Commission administers, implements, and enforces all the national regulatory policies for the professions.
Yeah.
Enhancing standards, making sure ethics are upheld, the basics.
Okay, the foundation. Then what about the exams? That seems like a huge part of their job. Subsection D, right?
Absolutely critical. Subsection D give them wide-ranging power over exams. They decide where and when exams are held. They can use public or private buildings. They can hold exams more than once a year, which is practical. And there's that rule. At least one exam has to be on a weekday.
A weekday? Why is that?
Probably for accessibility, maybe assuming some people work weekends or have other commitments. It just broadens the opportunity. And they can even make you take a refresher course if you fail 3 times.
Trying to ensure people don't just keep failing without improving?
Exactly. It pushes for actual competence. And the focus on integrity here is intense. They can adopt measures to, and this is the exact phrase, preserve the integrity and inviolability of the exams.
Inviolability, strong word.
It is. They appoint supervisors, room watchers. They publish the names of who passed. They can even give out sample test questions and syllabi to schools, which helps standardize preparation.
And if someone cheats or breaks the rules during the exam?
Big consequences. The Commission can suspend them or ban them altogether from taking future exams. They're serious about a level playing field.
Okay, so after the exams, subsection E covers admission to practice.
Right. They register the successful candidates, issue the certificate of registration, the professional license signed by the board members and the commission chair, all official seals. They can also issue ID cards. And there's a really specific important point in E about marine officers, deck and engineer officers.
Yes, the STCW convention reference.
Precisely. Their endorsement certificates come only from the Commission following those international maritime standards. This overrides any other agency and ensures those licenses are recognized globally. Super important for seafarers.
And there's protection for the professional too, right? Once you get that certificate.
Yes, huge protection. It cannot be withdrawn, canceled, revoked, or suspended, except for just cause, as may be provided by law after due notice and hearing. Your license can't just be yanked away arbitrarily. There has to be a proper legal process.
Okay, what else stands out in Section 7? There's a lot here. Fees, staffing.
Yeah, G lets them set fees for exams, registration, IDs, you name it. They can even charge more than previous laws allowed, but they need approval from the Office of the President for that. And H gives them power over their own staffing, hiring, firing, setting pay, organizing their internal structure, all subject to civil service rules, of course, gives them operational autonomy.
Let's jump to the international angle again. Subsection J deals with foreign professionals wanting to practice in the Philippines. How does that work?
It's based on reciprocity, mainly. So if a foreigner wants to register, the relevant professional board checks if their home country's requirements are basically the same as the Philippines. And crucially, does that country let Filipinos practice there under similar terms? If yes, the board can recommend approval to the Commission.
So a two-way street.
Generally, yes. But they can also issue special temporary permits, say, for a foreign consultant on a specific project, or an employee of a foreign firm, or even doctors on a short-term humanitarian mission.
Who's responsible for getting those permits?
This is important. The company or person hiring the foreign professional has to get the permit, and not just from the PRC, but also from the Department of Labor and Employment, DOLE. It's a dual requirement.
And the Commission keeps an eye on these foreign professionals. Subsection L.
They do. They supervise those practicing under temporary permits, make sure they're sticking to the rules. And they can actually file criminal complaints against employers who hire foreigners without the proper permits.
Serious stuff, including deportation?
They can request deportation through the Bureau of Immigration, yes. And subsection L also covers former Filipino citizens, people who became citizens of another country but held a Philippine license before that.
Can they still practice?
Yes, while they're visiting or living back in the Philippines, but they need to get a special permit and keeps your ID card updated. It allows them to contribute their skills while still being under the PRC's oversight.
The Act also seems focused on the schools, the source of future professionals. Subsections M and N.
Definitely. The PRC monitors how schools perform in the board exams and publishes those results. Transparency. And subsection N mandates a comprehensive rating system for universities and colleges based on their students' passing rates and overall performance.
Ah, so naming and faming, essentially, to push schools to improve.
Exactly. It creates a strong incentive for educational institutions to up their game. And speaking of modernization, look at Q.
Right, the computerization mandate.
Yeah, full computerization of all licensure exams and registration. And they set a deadline, no later than 2003.
That was pretty forward-thinking for a law passed in 2000.
Very. It aimed to boost efficiency, transparency, and crucially, reduce opportunities for cheating or manipulation. A big step.
And the commission even polices itself, in a way, investigating board members under subsection.
Yes, that's a vital internal check. The commission can investigate members of the professional regulatory boards for misconduct, neglect, incompetence, unethical behavior, exam irregularities. If they're found guilty, the commission can suspend or revoke their professional license and recommend to the president that they be removed from the board. Keeps the regulators accountable.
Finally, under Section 7, subsection W deals with unauthorized practice.
Right. The commission can investigate anyone, private person, professional, local, foreign, who's practicing a regulated profession without a license. If they find evidence, they hand it over to the prosecutor. And the commission's own lawyers can even help prosecute those cases. It shows they have teeth for enforcement against illegal practice.
Okay, so that's the commission, the big picture overseer. But the individual professional regulatory boards, the PRBs, still have significant power, right? Section 9 clarifies that.
Absolutely. The boards are still the primary regulators for their specific fields. Section 9 says they regulate the actual practice according to their profession's specific laws. They monitor what's happening in the profession, look for ways to improve standards, and they have this power of ocular inspection.
Ocular inspection, meaning they can just show up and look around?
Pretty much. They could inspect workplaces, plants, hospitals, labs, construction sites, you name it, to see if standards are being met. For schools, they coordinate with CHED, the Commission on Higher Education. It's about seeing the real-world conditions.
And they handle disputes and violations within their profession.
Yes, subsection C. They hear and investigate cases involving violations of their specific laws, rules, codes of ethics. They can issue summons, subpoenas. Their decisions are binding unless you appeal up to the main commission. They can also run summary proceedings, quicker hearings for minor violations, like stuff that happens during an exam. Again, their judgment is final if not appealed.
What about the exams themselves? Do the boards still control the content?
Very much so. Subsection H is key here. The boards prepare the syllabi in consultation with academics. They write the actual exam questions, making sure they stick to the syllabus. They score the papers, determine the passing average, though the commission have to approve that average and get the results to the commission quickly within 10 days. So they're deeply involved in the substance of the exams.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. The Act also covers practical things like pay for board members and who can teach exam subjects.
Right. Section 10 sets the compensation for board members. It's pegged a couple of salary grades below the commissioners, with the board chair getting a bit more. Ensures they're fairly compensated for their expertise.
And who's allowed to teach the subjects covered in these licensure exams? Section 11.
Very specific rule here. You have to hold a valid license in that same profession yourself. Plus, meet any requirements from the Commission on Higher Education. It's a quality control measure for the educators.
Makes sense. You want licensed professionals teaching future licensed professionals. And Section 12 mentions help from police?
Yeah, just a standard provision saying law enforcement has to assist the PRC or the boards if they ask for help enforcing the rules. Gives them backup when needed.
What about funding? Did the Act provide money for all this, especially the computerization?
Well, Section 13 says the initial money comes from the PRC's existing budget. But Section 14 is interesting. It let the commission use up to 45 million pesos of its own income, its earnings from fees, specifically for that computerization program. That was a direct, dedicated funding stream to make sure the modernization actually happened by the 2003 deadline.
Okay, now for the really serious part, the penalties. Section 15 deals with cheating or manipulating the exams. How tough were they?
Extremely tough. This was clearly a major focus. Anyone caught manipulating results, leaking questions beforehand, tampering with grades, faces serious time. We're talking imprisonment of 6 years and 1 day, minimum, up to 12 years maximum, or a big fine 50,000 to 100,000 pesos, or potentially both.
And that's for anyone. What if it's someone working for the PRC or on a board?
Then it gets even more severe. If the offender is an insider, an officer or employee of the commission, or a board member, They get hit with a jail time and diverse fine, plus they're immediately removed from their job. And crucially, they suffer perpetual, absolute disqualification from public office. They can never hold a government position again.
Wow. Zero tolerance for insiders breaking the rules.
Absolutely. And it doesn't stop there. Accomplices get 4 to 6 years or a fine. Accessories get 2 to 4 years or a smaller fine. They really try to cover all angles to protect exam integrity.
And Section 16 circles back to the foreign professionals issue, penalties for employers who don't follow the rules.
Yes. Remember Section 7L about needing permits? Section 16 penalizes the heads of government agencies or private companies who violate that. If you hire a foreign professional without the required PRC and DLE permits, you, the employer, could face prison time, 6 months to 6 years, or a very hefty fine, 50,000 up to 500,000 pesos or both.
That's a strong message to employers. Follow the rules on hiring foreign professionals.
Definitely. It reinforces the whole regulatory framework.
So how did they actually roll this massive act out, and what specific old laws did it officially replace?
Section 17 handled the rollout. It required implementing rules and regulations, the IRR, to be drawn up within 90 days. And importantly, it wasn't just the PRC doing this. They had to involve the professional boards, the accredited professional organizations, the groups representing the professionals themselves, the Department of Budget and Management, and CHED, broad consultation.
To make sure the rules were practical and everyone was on board.
Exactly. Get buy-in and make sure the transition was smooth. Section 18 had transitory provisions too, basically saying the current commissioners could finish their terms under the new act without needing new appointments. Continuity.
And the repealing clause, Section 20, what got wiped out?
A whole list of older laws. The most significant were Republic Act 546, and of course the original Presidential Decree 223 that established the previous PRC structure. It also repealed parts of other laws that conflicted with this new act. One specific repeal that likely affected many professionals directly was the removal of the mandatory continuing professional education, or CPE, requirement for license renewal.
Ah, so under this 2000 Act, you didn't necessarily need ongoing education credits just to renew your license.
Correct. That specific mandate, which was in some other laws, was explicitly repealed by RA 88981. That would have streamlined the renewal process considerably for many at the time.
And Section 21 just says it takes effect 15 days after publication, standard procedure. And historically, this was passed under President Estrada.
Yes, it was a consolidation of House and Senate bills passed by both chambers in October 2000, and President Joseph Estrada approved it on December 5th, 2000.
What an incredibly detailed piece of legislation. We've really gone through the weeds of RA 8981. It covers everything from the commission structure and vast powers
to the roles of the individual boards, the stringent exam rules, foreign professional oversight, school monitoring.
And those really severe penalties for corruption or unauthorized practice. It's a comprehensive blueprint.
It truly is. It forms a bedrock of trust in the professions in the Philippines. It's all about ensuring competence, ethics, and aiming for that world-class standard, which ultimately contributes to national development. It's provided that guiding framework for, well, over 2 decades now.
Thinking about all the detail and, frankly, the foresight in this 2000 Act, especially things like the computerization mandate, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How does a system like this keep up? What are the challenges today in making sure professional standards stay world-class when the world changes so fast? New technologies, new global demands? And how does a foundational law like RA 8981 adapt, or how should it adapt, to meet the needs of the future? That's something to think about, whether you're a professional yourself, training to be one, or just someone who relies on their expertise every day.